Let's talk about tonight's game. Yesterday, Phelps would have started. They skip over him, and they go with Kuroda. Now, the Mariners didn't do that. They're going to push Felix Hernandez to start against the Houston Astros tomorrow. In that sense, was the rain out a good thing for the Yankees? Because that's one more Pineda start that they didn't miss.
Exactly. I think it worked out perfectly for the Yankees, and then you miss King Felix, which is a bonus on top of it. But the Yankees kind of needed that one, I think. Take a little night off and look forward to tonight. The problem is Kuroda has not been throwing the ball great lately, and, I think the bigger problem is the rotation as a whole. That would probably be my biggest concern right now. How do you fill in the back end? What's wrong with Kuroda? CC kind of giving up some big innings lately and not pitching deep into games. All of these things are going to lead to a very fatigued bullpen if they don't get it straightened out pretty soon.
Well, speaking of fatigue, we all assumed because of what happened in the second half of the season last year with Kuroda that it was just a tired arm. But now that he has not really caught fire like he did in the first half of last year, is there legitimate concern that maybe he will not be the pitcher that he was?
Yeah, I think the same thing, Don. Last year you figured all the innings kind of caught up to him there, and the season before it happened. So coming into this year, I think Kuroda really was not a concern to anybody until you get to the month of September and late August. Now that feeling for me has kind of changed a little bit. If you watch his stuff, it's not as crisp. I remember doing a game where he really didn't throw too many split-finger fastballs, and that's his bread and butter pitch. So it raises some concern that he might not be that stabilizing guy, in the number 2 spot that you had him penciled in to be. So there's a lot of question marks. The only question mark is not Tanaka because he's been fantastic. And, the other guys in the rotation you have to be concerned about.
Let's talk about Sabathia, who did start on Tuesday, and you mentioned that he didn't give him length. And I'm wondering, John, the pitcher that CC has now become, is he a guy that's going to have a high pitch count in the 5th inning because he's got to work batters? He doesn't really have swing and miss stuff like he used to anymore, so people are going to be able to at least foul the ball back. And when you look up in the 5th inning, he's going to have 100 pitches.
Yeah, I think so. And, it's kind of strange because his strikeout total has been fine this year. I think he would actually sign up to have, some earlier contact in some of these at-bats. But, you're 100% right. He cannot just challenge people anymore, to the middle of the plate or, catch a lot of plates. So he's pitching carefully. Because of that, he's getting into a lot of deeper counts, a lot more foul balls, like you said. And, the one thing we've always known from Sabathia, except maybe last year, was that he was going to give you 7, and he wanted to give you 9. I mean, and from a bullpen standpoint, it was a great luxury for Joe Girardi to be able to handle guys a little bit differently, knowing that Sabathia's spot would come in the rotation. It looks like those days are gone. I mean, he's thrown a lot of 6-inning games this year. He hasn't thrown terribly, but he's just not the same guy as being a night off for the bullpen.
See, let me piggyback on that because I think that his stuff is good enough that he can win a really good amount of games for the Yankees. I don't think that he's a shot pitcher. I just think he's a different pitcher. Do you agree?
Totally agree. On this Yankee team, with the runs that you expect them to put up on the board, you would pencil him in for 14, 15 wins, with the stuff that he has right now. He knows what he's doing. He's smart. He's throwing the changeup more, the two-seamer more, all that stuff. He's just got to find a way to stay away from this one big inning. It seems like he'll look really good at times, and then all of a sudden he labors through an inning, and it costs him the ball game. But I'm on the same page with you, Michael. I mean, this guy, he might not be the top-end, number 1 guy. You want him pitching in a playoff game in the first game, but he's plenty good enough and has plenty left to win a lot of games for the Yankees.
Surprised by the Yankee fan reaction to Robinson Cano Tuesday night?
I was, Don, and, I thought it would be split. I mean, I knew he was going to get some boos, but, in my mind, I still have that ex-player mentality, which is, once you get to free agency, you're kind of holding the hammer a little bit, and, Robinson Cano made a business decision, and that's the way I was thinking about it. I can understand now, reflecting back, how the Yankee fan, they felt a little slighted. The Yankee offer was very, very legitimate, very fair. Very generous, and, for the first time in a long, long time, there was a player that said no, and obviously being a homegrown guy, I think that hurt the fans in a big way. But there wasn't a big crowd there the other night, Don, but I'll tell you what, they were loud. So, Michael and I will get another shot at it tonight, probably with a decent crowd with the good weather.
I'll tell you what, John. I'm privy to our run sheet, and on the second segment tonight, we're going to talk about Teixeira. So we'll preview that right now. I look at him as so important to this team, balancing the lineup, switch hitter, his defense, lengthening the lineup, and the fact that he's hit 2 home runs in 3 games. I think that's a real positive sign for this team.
I think you have to look at it at a bigger picture too, Michael. I mean, this is a guy who, going through spring training, they took it easy with his wrist. But he did not drive too many balls down there in Tampa, and I think there was a level of concern that, is he going to be that run producer, the home run player from both sides of the plate that the Yankees have gotten used to? And it's a really, really good sign that you're starting to see it, a couple of home runs the last couple of games. So I think the Yankees obviously need him to drive the ball and drive in runs. I think he's never going to be that high average guy anymore, but they have to be encouraged by what they've seen lately.
John, as a player, would you have rather played 2 today and save the off day in June, or do what the Yankees are doing here?
As a player, I would rather play the 2 games, and have that off day later on in June. As a manager, I think Joe Girardi probably, and an organization, they were saying, it's a good day, a good night off last night. You play 1 today, and then you come back later on when hopefully your pitching staff is in better shape. So I think the player perspective and the organization or manager's perspectives are probably totally different.
Now, what did you do with your unexpected night off, John?
You know what? I had a great night. I settled in with a nice fire at my house and watched a little Ranger hockey, Game 7, and was pretty happy with the outcome. So it didn't get any better for me last night.
I didn't know you were a Ranger fan.
I'm very casual, but you got to check in for Game 7. And you know what, Michael? Don't feel slighted that I didn't want to spend my night with you doing a game, but on my couch, a nice glass of red wine and a fire watching Game 7 was pretty sweet.